In the 1970s, stamp collecting wasn't just a hobby. It was one of the most popular hobbies in America. Millions of people spent their weekends searching for rare stamps, organizing albums, visiting hobby shops, and trading with collectors across the country. Schools encouraged it. Families shared it. Entire magazines were dedicated to it. For many people, collecting stamps was more than entertainment. It was a way to explore the world. Every tiny piece of paper carried a story from another country, another culture, or another moment in history. But today, something strange has happened. A hobby that once attracted millions has largely disappeared from everyday life. Most young people have never owned a stamp album. Many have never met a serious stamp collector. So what happened? How did one of the world's most beloved hobbies become a relic of the past? This is the story of the rise and fall of stamp collecting. Stamp collecting began almost by accident. In 1840, Britain introduced the world's first adhesive postage stamp, known as a penny black. At first, stamps were simply a practical way to send mail, but it didn't take long for people to notice something interesting. Every stamp was different. Some featured kings and queens. Others celebrated important events, famous people, or national symbols. People started saving them. Then they started trading them. And before long, a completely new hobby was born. By the late 1800s, stamp collecting had spread across Europe and North America. Collectors became fascinated by the endless variety of designs. A stamp from France looked different from one from Japan. A stamp from Brazil told a different story than one from Canada. For many collectors, it felt like holding a small piece of the world in their hands. The true golden age of stamp collecting arrived during the 20th century. As international mail exploded, so did the number of stamps entering circulation. Governments constantly released new designs. Every year brought something new to collect. By the 1950s and 1960s, stamp collecting had become a mainstream hobby. Parents encouraged their children to participate. Schools sometimes used stamps as educational tools. Local clubs appeared in cities across America. Collector conventions attracted huge crowds. Specialized magazines offered advice, market updates, and collecting tips. For many families, stamp collecting was affordable. Unlike some hobbies, you didn't need expensive equipment. You simply needed curiosity, patience, and an album. And that accessibility helped the hobby grow into a cultural phenomenon. Millions of Americans became collectors. Some were casual hobbyists. Others spent decades building extraordinary collections. To understand why stamp collecting became so popular, you have to remember what life was like before the internet. Today, information is everywhere. A few taps on a phone can show you almost any country on Earth. But decades ago, the world felt much larger, much more distant. A stamp offered a glimpse into places most people would never visit. A child in Ohio could discover Egypt, Australia, or Argentina simply by examining a stamp. Every design carried a story. Every collection became a miniature museum. The hobby also appealed to people's natural desire to hunt for rare items. Finding a missing stamp for your collection felt like uncovering buried treasure. And because some stamps became valuable, collectors often dream of discovering a hidden fortune. The excitement kept people engaged for years, sometimes for life. But no hobby stays at its peak forever. By the late 20th century, changes were beginning to appear. At first, they seemed small, but together, they would reshape the future of stamp collecting. One
See this
major
cancellation
problem was
mark here. It proves
technology.
it's a genuine
For
first issue from
generations,
57.
Remarkable
stamps
clarity
were
on
an
the overprint.
essential
Are you
part
sure
of
it's
daily
authentic?
communication.
Absolutely. I cross-referenced the
People
watermark
sent
just
letters
yesterday.
constantly.
Did you see the penny black
Birthdays,
over at Smith & Sons?
holidays,
I did.
business
It's in
correspondence,
remarkable
personal
condition
messages.
for its age.
Every envelope required a
The
stamp.
centering on
This
this
steady
specimen is
flow
nearly
kept new
perfect.
collectors
And the
interested.
watermark confirms the
Stamps
date.
were
It's
everywhere.
exceptionally
Then
rare.
came email.
I'll make a note of the
Suddenly,
condition.
communication became instant. A message that once took days could now arrive in seconds. As internet access expanded, traditional mail began to decline. Fewer letters meant fewer stamps. And fewer stamps meant fewer opportunities for young people to develop an interest in collecting without realizing it. Society was removing one of the hobby's most important foundations. Another
Não
challenge
era
soon emerged.
necessário
The collector population was getting
equipamento
older.
caro.
Many dedicated stamp collectors had started during the hobby's
Curiosidade
golden
e paciência
age, but
eram
younger
suficientes.
generations often found different interests. Video games, computers,
A paixão por
the internet,
selos uniu
social
milhões de
media.
americanos,
These
de
new forms of
famílias a
entertainment
estudantes,
competed for attention
tornando-se um
in
verdadeiro
ways that
fenômeno
stamp
cultural.
collecting never had before. The patience required to organize albums and study rare stamps no longer appealed to many young people. As older collectors retired from the hobby, there weren't enough newcomers to replace them. Stamp clubs began shrinking. Attendance at conventions started falling. Some hobby shops struggled to survive. The community that had once seemed unstoppable was slowly getting smaller. Ironically, the internet both helped and hurt stamp collecting. On one hand, collectors could now connect with people around the world. Buying rare stamps became easier than ever. Online auctions opened new opportunities. Knowledge became more accessible. But the internet also changed how people spent their free time. Instead of searching through albums, many preferred digital entertainment. The excitement of discovering distant countries through stamps became less powerful when the entire world was available online. What once felt magical now felt ordinary. The hobby lost some of its unique appeal, and that shift was difficult to reverse. By the early 2000s, the decline was impossible to ignore. Many local stamp clubs disappeared. Hobby stores closed their doors. Magazine subscriptions fell. Events attracted fewer visitors. Stamp collecting was no longer a common part of childhood. It had become a niche interest. The hobby didn't vanish overnight. Instead, it slowly faded from mainstream culture. One generation stopped introducing it to the next. And that may have been the biggest turning point of all, because hobbies survive when people share them. When that chain breaks, decline often follows. But is stamp collecting completely
The
dead?
decline in
Not
membership is
entirely.
concerning.
In fact,
We must adapt if the
thousands of
local
dedicated
philatelic
collectors
society is to
remain active
continue
today.
past this
Rare
esteemed gathering.
stamps still sell for impressive amounts of money. Major auctions continue to attract serious buyers. Specialized communities still exist online. Some collectors believe the hobby will survive indefinitely, just on a smaller scale. And they may be right. While stamp collector will probably never return to the heights of the 20th century, it still offers something
This is
few modern hobbies
incredible.
can match. A direct
Look right
connection to
here.
history.
The
Every stamp tells a
possibilities
story.
are endless
Every
for
collection
what we
preserves a
can
piece
do
of
with
the
this
past.
machine.
Stamp collecting didn't die because people suddenly stopped caring.
Look at
It
this.
declined because the world
It can
changed.
calculate
The
the
internet
postage for
transformed
every
communication.
stamp we own
Technology
in
reshaped entertainment.
seconds.
And newer
Really?
generations
How does
found
it
different
do
ways to
that?
explore the
That's
world.
incredible.
Yet despite its decline, the hobby leave behind an incredible legacy. For more than a century, stamps connected millions of people to places they had never seen and stories they had never heard. And while the golden age of stamp collecting may be over, its history remains a reminder of a slower, more curious world. A world where a tiny piece of paper could spark a lifetime of fascination.